Minister, as the host of the Nature of Things, he has been a tireless advocate for our one sacred planet and for Indigenous rights. In fact, he has been the recipient of 8 names from Indigenous communities, both on this continent and as well as Australia. It is a privilege to welcome Dr.
Thank you. What an honor to be part of this crowd today. Congratulations to whoever organized this. This doesn't just happen spontaneously. It's been a long time coming. Thank you all for coming out and telling the government this is not just an issue that a few hippies or pot smoking something or others are doing. This is a broad movement. Do not expect Mr. Eby to do the right thing. Not because he's evil or stupid or not caring. He's trapped within the political system. And if we're going to operate within that system, we have to show political clout. That's what you're about here today, and that has to continue. A one-off thing is not going to do it. We've got to somehow keep this up. I think that we should go to every riding office, and we should be appearing there every week, week after week. We've got to show that this isn't just a single issue. You see, we are at a critical moment. We've run out of time for all of this bickering. We have been invaded, and we have spread this invasive mentality, a mentality that now, instead of seeing ourselves as deeply embedded in a web of relationships with all other species of animals and plants, with the air, the water, the soil, and the sunlight, which is the way that for 99% of human existence, we understood. That's what we were. We were one strand in a web of relationships. And Indigenous people continue to tell us, when you're in that kind of a relationship with the rest of creation, you've got responsibilities. And you see the thrust now. You go down to the corners in Vancouver now, there are signs, recall Eby. Have you seen that? This is it's a legacy of the truckers, the anti-vax movement, all of this stuff. And when you confront them, it's about freedom. Freedom without responsibility is not freedom, that's anarchy, and that's a rejection of society. So understand, we have a relationship that gives us responsibilities. And the problem we face today is that we have very recently come out and removed ourselves from a web of relationships to thinking we live in a pyramid where we're at the top and everything down below is for us. And even when you hear, we have forgotten that we are one animal species. We live on the surface of the land. We know nothing about what's in the oceans that cover 70% of the planet, and yet we've invaded. Over 85% of the oceans have already been invaded. We have taken over the land, which is our area of living. We've taken over 75% of it. 25% of the wilderness remains, and that 25%, 70% of that is in 5 countries. Russia, the United States, but that's Alaska, Australia, Brazil, and Canada. We are the repository of some of the last great wildernesses, particularly the boreal forest, but also the coastal temperate rainforest, which is a very, very precious and endangered ecosystem on the planet. We've got to acknowledge that we don't know anything. We don't know anything about these systems, even in the land which we occupy. I say we still act as if we are so smart that we can manage everything. We're managing the air quality. We're managing our waters. And we're managing our forests. Well, if that's management, we have really fucked up the world because we don't know enough to manage anything. And we've got to acknowledge that as scientists as well. If we're going to manage anything, it seems to me we need to have at least two things. We need an inventory of everything in whatever area you want to manage, and you need a blueprint showing how everything within that system is interconnected and interact. We have virtually none of that knowledge on land, let alone in the oceans or underground. You know, we used to think that life ended at bedrock, and yet these drills kept going down further and further for oil, and they kept coming up contaminated with bacteria. And finally someone said, where the heck is this contamination coming from? And you know what? They discovered life goes down over 7 kilometers underground. And when you start thinking, these are bacteria, some of them only divide once every 1,000 years. They are so different from anything we know on the surface of the planet that we've had to invent new phyla. Now anybody that knows anything about biology, that's like saying, my God, we've discovered life on Mars. We have to create a whole new system to identify those creatures, and that's what we're discovering down there. Stephen Jay Gould said, if life exists 7 kilometers down, life on the surface is a very thin skin. Calculate the concentration of bacteria, and guess what? The weight of bacteria underground is greater than the weight of all living things above the ground. We know nothing about what's down there, but we want to pump our carbon dioxide under there, without knowing anything that goes on down there. I met one of the leading scientists who's studying these creatures under the ground, and I said, you know, Alberta is planning to pump billions of tons of carbon dioxide underground. What will that do to the life forms down there? And he said, I have no idea, but the methanogens will love that. What are they? They're bacteria that eat carbon dioxide and give off methane. So we're going to take... Anyway, that's the insanity of our ideas. Our economic, our political, and our judicial systems are all based on a pyramid. It's all about us. And so all of the little things that we're trying to do, oh, we need a park here, oh, we need a tax over here, these are just little incremental shifts that do nothing about changing the notion that we're at the top. Why have indigenous people become so important in these issues that we face today? Because they are the people around the world fighting for their land, not just because it's a source of who they are, but that they have a responsibility to care for the land. And you know that the Brundtland report that came out in 1987 called Our Common Future, in that it says the only people with a track record of living sustainably in place for thousands of years are the indigenous people. And now it's time to put them, we've got to give that land back and let them show us how we treat that land with respect. Thank you.